day. All right. Well, my name is Lexi. I am a natural health practitioner. Let me pull my screen up here for you. All right. Can everyone see my screen? Or do you see me? Screen's good? Okay. All right. So again, my name is Dr. Lexi Silence. I'm a natural health practitioner. I'm an audiologist, a Buteyko breathing instructor, and most importantly, a functional lab specialist, which is why we're all here today. So tell me what's bringing you here, if you can, in the chat. Are you hoping to learn something about your own labs? Are you struggling with any chronic health conditions yourselves or any family members? Good, Kara. This is a good place to start. That's where I started. Tad, I'm doing a lipid panel next week on Thursday. So if you're interested in learning about the lipid panel and your triglycerides, that'll be a good one to come to, and I'll record it as well if you can't make it. Okay. Good, Kelly. Perfect, Al. Known you for way too long. Okay. All right, so we're gonna get started. And I just wanted to review a little disclaimer that I'm not an MD. I am a natural health practitioner, and I'm not your physician. So anything that I talk about today is more for informational purposes. However, if you do find anything glaring in your labs, I do recommend that you talk to your physician. But hopefully what you learned today will help you going forward. Please feel free, if you have questions, I'll kind of stop every so often and look through the chat. Okay. So I don't know, I know some of you commented in the labs. I do what I do now because of my own health issues. I struggled with autoimmune conditions for many years. I had lupus, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, breast implant illness, all sorts of things. And Western Med was not able to help me. At some point, I was up to over 28 pills a day. I was taking medications to help the side effects of medications, and I wasn't getting any better. And so I went down this natural health route, and I have turned my life around, and now I want to be able to help others. So hopefully, again, you learned something from this today. Now, have you ever wondered why your doctors don't review labs with you? You might go in, they draw blood, they don't review the results with you. Maybe they put them in your portal, and you look through and you kind of go, well, some of these labs are high, some of them are low, but the doctor said everything was normal or didn't mention anything. Does anyone have that experience before? Give me a thumbs up if you have. Okay, and it's really frustrating. And then we go to Dr. Google, right? What's wrong with us, and try and figure everything out. And the problem is that most physicians are not trained to really look at the nuances of your labs to really tell you what's happening with them. What they're looking for are these glaring abnormalities that really will let them know if you have significant disease state in your body. But they're not looking for these underlying conditions that really are at the root of most of our illnesses. So my life totally changed when I learned to read labs, and I hope yours will too. When you look at your lab paperwork, you're going to see normative data on there, the ranges of normative data. And that data changes year to year. And as the population gets sicker and sicker, those ranges grow and grow. So basically, you're being compared to other people that are in a not well state. They may not be sick in the medical terms, but they may not be feeling very well either. So it's really not finding an optimal or healthy level for you. So that's the key, is normal does not mean optimal. Okay. Functional medicine utilizes a tighter range. So we're really taking those normative ranges and tightening them up. I like to say that it's like finding, instead of a needle in a haystack, we're trying to find a needle in a bowl. So it's not perfect, but we've really narrowed down and been able to pinpoint a lot of patterns and things that will manifest before a full disease state will. And it's much easier to heal the body when you catch things sooner rather than later. Now, in case you're wondering, those normative values or the functional values that we use are very well researched by both physicians, researchers, scientists. So they're very clear cut, but your doctor is not trained in those values. When they go to medical school, they learn one way, and that's pretty much it, unless they decide to learn more functional medicine. In just a few minutes, we're going to go over the CBC, but I wanted to go over a few statistics with you first. And I find that these numbers are a little outrageous. We should not be at this state. So approximately 52% of the US population has a chronic health condition. And of that 52%, 27% has 2 or more chronic health conditions. Now, these may be diagnosed, they may not be diagnosed. It could just be things like GI issues, headaches, insomnia, all of that. That amounts. So on the normative data, yes, the normal ranges are from lab companies and sometimes pharmaceutical companies. And their range is the number of people that they include in that is very small. So this amounts to over 150 million people within the United States alone. So the numbers are staggering. If you can imagine the financial toll that it takes, even on family dynamics, kids, relationships, spouses. So something that we definitely need to take control of. And over 25 million people currently have autoimmune conditions. Okay. Now, 20% of our population is considered healthy, which means that they're vibrant, they're living life to the fullest. There's no sense of anything being out of order within their body. 5% of the population is considered sick, which means they have a significant diagnosed illness. The rest of us, 75% of us, fall within this functional range. And what that means is that overall, we'll say we do pretty well, but maybe we do have diarrhea and the gas and the bloating. Maybe we do have those chronic migraines, joint pain, chronic pain throughout the body, a host of issues. So we can get by on a day-to-day basis, but if we're truly well, no, we're not. We're not living life the way we should be. If you're not jumping out of bed in the morning, ready to go and able to go all day without cycling through ups and downs, you're functional. Okay. So what we're talking about today is the CBC with differential. Let me know in the comments if you have this lab in your lab results that you may have. And it's different than just the CBC. If you only have the CBC, you're not going to have the markers. Perfect, great, that we want to look at. Wonderful. I'm seeing some yeses there. I love that. Great, great, Kelly. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing this and I'm going to pull up my other screen here. Give me just a second. Okay, can you see the CBC now? Wonderful. Okay, so when we look at the CBC, what this stands for is the complete blood count with differential. So the differential has the portions that really help us. And I like to consider this lab the lab of all labs. So if your doctor were to run any lab, this needs to be the one that they run. It's cheap, it's covered by insurance, it doesn't take any extra blood vials, but it is the CBC with Differential. And why is this one so important? It's because it talks about infection in the body. Now, you may have lab work that talks about or reviews sed rate or CRP. Those are markers of inflammation throughout the body, much more for acute issues. The CBC really tells us if there's a low-level, low-grade infection in the body. And these low-grade infections are really responsible for a lot of our ill health. I like to think of it as a program running in the, on your computer in the background. It slows everything down. And so once we fix that out, these ranges listed on the paper, Laura, are functional. And so this infection slows the whole body down and it just creates chaos everywhere. Infections can attack any system in the body. So any illness that you may be struggling with can be due to an infection. I know personally, doctors told me, oh, you're a new mom, it's normal to be tired, or you're getting older, it's normal to be in pain and have sore knees and achy joints. It's truly not normal. There's always an underlying cause for that. Okay, so we'll jump in here with the white blood cell count, which is your WBC. And the white blood cell count is really a general marker for infections in the body. And ideally, we want to see a range between 5 to 8. If you fall lower than that or above that, so if you're lower than 5 or above 8, you have a low-grade infection in the body. Okay, so we'll kind of write that down. So if you have that paper, you can write that down, low-grade infection. Can't spell today. Okay, so both of those would be a low-grade infection. Now, if we go all the way down to neutrophils, our ideal range for neutrophils would be 40 to 60%. So if you're below 60%, no worries, okay? If you're above 60%, then you have a bacterial infection. Okay, so again, below 60 is no big deal. Above 60 is a bacterial infection. So let me give you an example of this. I had a young woman, she was 36, mom, married, 2 small kids. She had been struggling with vertigo for quite some time. As an audiologist, the first thing I started jumping to is all my audiology things. But she'd eventually gone to the ER because she was struggling so much with the vertigo issues. And they ran test after test, blood work after blood work, and told her everything was normal, sent her home and told her it was because she was a new mom and she was just, a little out of sorts, drink some more water. 2 weeks later, she was still struggling. And that's when she reached out to me. And we took a look at her labs, and her neutrophil results were at 86%. So they were pretty much off the chart. So immediately we got her started on a program to help reduce the bacteria in her system. I had also asked her additional questions once I saw these results. Did you have any GI issues? And she told me for most of her adult life, she has always struggled with diarrhea and gas and cramping. She also mentioned that she had chronic pain and she was getting cortisone shots. And I thought, my goodness, you're 36 years old and you're already starting to do these cortisone shots. Something else is going on. And that's, again, the bacterial infection that we uncovered. So we got her on a program to help reduce the bacteria. And within 2 weeks, her GI issues were almost completely gone. Joint pain was gone. and her dizziness was completely abated. So here the ER could find nothing wrong with her, and just looking at the simple lab results shows you how much there is. Okay, thanks for letting me know. I'll pop it up after the, is that Laura? Yeah. Okay, thanks, Laura. I'll pop it up when we're done. Okay, so that's neutrophils. Neutrophils are bacterial infection. If we go down to lymphocytes, ideally we want to see these below 30%. Okay. So below 30% is good. If we're above 30%, this indicates a viral infection. Okay, so neutrophils are bacterial, lymphocytes are viral. Now, is it possible to have co-infections? Absolutely. You can have bacterial and viral at the same time. Oftentimes, if you have bacterial, you'll also have a fungal infection. That doesn't show on the blood work, but I also always treat for fungal as well as bacterial. Now, where it gets really interesting is with neutrophils and lymphocytes. Generally, we want a 2-to-1 ratio. So what we want is the neutrophils to be around 60% and the lymphocytes to be around 30%. That's a 2-to-1 ratio. If they start coming in closer and meeting in the meeting in the middle, excuse me, then we're going to be more towards a 1-to-1 ratio. And when we have that 1-to-1 ratio, we're going to start thinking autoimmune disorder. Okay, and don't be scared by the term autoimmune. It just means your body's fighting a lot more. It's still easily fixable. It just takes a little bit more to do that. So autoimmune just means your body's going through both bacterial and viral. It's just the immune system is much more taxed. So again, we want a 2-to-1 ratio between neutrophils and lymphocytes. The closer they get to a 1-to-1 ratio, we're going to think autoimmune conditions. Everyone good with that? If you are, give me a thumbs up, put it in the chat. Perfect. Okay, any questions so far? Great, Kelly. Okay. Perfect, thank you. All right, so let's hop down to monocytes now. And monocytes, we want to see below 7%. Okay, so below 7%, that's great. If we go above 7%, we're going to start to think viral as well. Now, where it gets really good with the monocytes is if you start inching up closer towards 11%, that's when we're looking at an active case of Epstein-Barr virus or mono. Get it? Monocytes, mono. And so this is generally where we're going to find the Epstein-Barr is quite active. If your monocytes are closer or above that 11%, and you were to ask your doctor to run a test for Epstein-Barr, it'll probably come back positive at this point. If it's below that 11%, but still above 7%, you probably have the Epstein-Barr that's active. It is just not the root of everything. It's just sort of in the background there. Okay. Anyone finding any good info so far based on their labs? Okay. All right. Now this is my favorite part. I'm sure everyone's heard about parasites. They seem to be the new it term. Everyone's doing parasite cleanses all the time. Do you need a parasite cleanse? Well, you can tell from this lab whether or not you do. Now, one thing I would caution you is it is normal for our bodies to have bacteria and parasites. We work in symbiosis with a lot of other things, and it's important for our body to have some of these. When they get out of control, that's when we need to take care of them. So eosinophils, if they're above 3%, so if they're below 3%, no big deal. Okay, if they're above 3%, we're going to think food sensitivities. Sorry, new keyboard, I'm not used to it. Or parasites. So most of my clients that come to me have already tried everything for diet. They've done an elimination diet. Yes, Kara. So are you, do you have absolute values or do you have a percent value on your, in Canada, you may have absolute values. Okay. I'll show you how to do that and make the change in just a minute. Okay. So food sensitivities, again, is part of that. But if you've already tried to control the diet, then you want to look at parasites, and that's when we'll do a parasite cleanse. Now, if you do have, say, high neutrophils or high lymphocytes or monocytes and high parasites, I like to tackle the bacterial infections first and the viral infections first, and then the parasites. Doing everything at once tends to be too much for your body to handle. It's quite taxing. So I like to go step by step as far as reducing those. And then basophils would be the exact same thing. So we're looking for less than 1% with the basophils. Sorry, that should be a 1. Okay. And if they're greater than 1%, we again will think food sensitivities or parasites. Okay. All right. Now, Kara, in order to find that absolute value, I believe we put the percentage. So if you're looking at neutrophils, you're going to take your value for neutrophils and divide it by your white blood cell marker. So whatever your number is for the white blood cell. So for example, if you had 4.8 for your neutrophils, and then you divided it by 5, you'd come up with like 96%, which would be really high. So that would be the way that you would find out the absolute values, is to take your neutrophil, lymphocyte, monocyte values, and then divide it by your value for the white blood cell count. Good. Okay. Everyone with me so far? So neutrophils are for bacteria. Lymphocytes are for your viral. Monocytes are for viral. When your neutrophils and lymphocytes are close to a 1-to-1 ratio, then you have an autoimmune condition. And then your eosinophils and basophils will be primarily for food sensitivity issues or parasites. Everyone good on that? Thumbs up. Thank you. Okay. All right. So I'll take some questions in a few minutes. Now, I did want to give you all just a brief rundown of what labs you should always require from your request from your doctor. And that would be the CBC with Differential, a full lipid panel, a full thyroid panel, which would include TSH, your free T3, free T4, your T4, T3. If you're worried about your metabolism, then your reverse T3 as well, and your 2 antibody tests. And then I also recommend a complete metabolic panel, vitamin D, and an iron panel, a full iron panel. If you're worried about hormones, then I would also add on a hormone test for estrogen, testosterone, progesterone as well. Okay. All right. Kelly, I would recommend about, generally once a year is good to check in, at least every 2 years. So that'll give you a good idea. When I look at labs, I like to go back. The more labs you can give me, the better, because I look at labs as puzzle pieces. And so if you give me labs from 10 years, 5 years, 2 years, I put everything together because that leads to where you are today. So the more labs you can go back, you can see the patterns either repeating or have they waxed and waned. And it really gives you a good idea of what you're going through. So if you remember one time you went to the doctors and you felt like crap, and then you look at your test results from those days, you'll see it'll match up versus days where you maybe felt pretty good and you have your labs drawn and they won't look so bad. Any other questions? You can unmute yourself if you want to ask a question. It's pretty simple. All right. Did everybody learn anything today? I know that was quick and sweet, but it's pretty simple when you do. It is. It's so simple. So a quick run through. Now, I would tell you, don't go to the doctors and tell them I have a bacterial infection or I have a viral. They don't know how to read labs from a functional standpoint. They're going to look at you like you're crazy. So don't do that. Now I am having, again, a lipid panel that I'm doing next week. So if you want to learn how to do your lipid panel, just put it in the comments and I'll be happy to send you the link for the lipid panel. That would be on July 7th, which is Thursday. That's just as simple as this is. And then if anyone is interested in chatting with me more, I do encourage you to just reach out for a free consult. I'm happy to kind of go over any issues that you may be having or any struggles that you're having. If you're interested in looking at any kind of help or assistance in getting your health back together. Perfect. So I'll get that sent out. And then what I'll do, Laura, you mentioned the broken link for the cheat sheet. So what I'll do is I'll email everybody after this so that you have that. And the cheat sheet will also go over your lipids and everything so that you have a nice way to keep it all condensed. Okay. Any other questions that anyone can think of? Perfect. Did you learn anything today? Let me know below. That's what I like to hear. Okay. So hopefully this will get you on the road to healing. Again, don't go tell your doctors you have infections, but it's simple. Your labs are very easy to learn once you get the hang of it. I also will be developing a course that you can learn to read your own labs, all of them, your metabolic panels and things. So if that's something you're interested, let me know. Hopefully that'll be done in the next week or so. Great. Well, that is it today. I mean, keep it simple. So